Welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Colleen McCrae-Katz, and tonight I'm going to make something I call Cherries Jubilee Cupcakes. With the royal wedding just around the corner, this is something that's fun, and it originated in England, so I interpreted it into my cupcakes. And of course, being a chocoholic, they're chocolate cupcakes. I use a cake mix, chocolate cake mix. Anyone will do, and the reason that anyone will do is because we have a secret ingredient, our Philadelphia cream cheese. I use the whipped cream cheese. So we have our cake mix, we have a 1/4 cup of the Philadelphia cream cheese, a 1/3 cup water, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 3 large eggs, 1 jar of maraschino cherries without stems, and I reserve some of the juice, which we might use some of it in the mix. It's pretty straightforward. Just put your cake mix in your mixer, your water, your oil. My cakes come out really moist and really good. Well, actually, the cream cheese might have a lot to do with that. I think it does. But I do have to say that I use olive oil because that's what I usually have around, and so that's what I use. And 3 large eggs. I'm going to stop it there, and I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of the maraschino cherry juice. Okay, we let it go for a couple minutes and it's all mixed smoothly. I forgot to mention you need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And I don't know if you're like me, but 30 years ago I watched the other royal wedding with Charles and Diana. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was a newlywed bride back then, and I watched the whole thing. And I was enthralled with it all. Now 30 years later, I've been the mother of the bride, I'm a new grandmom, and I'm probably going to do it all over again. Because it's just so wonderful to watch. Fairy tale and all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with a royal wedding. How can you resist it? And wouldn't these be great to have at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're watching the royal wedding? I think so. Got everything mixed in and ready to go. Our batter into our cupcake tin. And you use regular cupcake papers. Sometimes I use the foil ones. I like them. They're nice. But this time around I have the regular paper ones and they're fine. And what I like to do is I like to use a measuring cup to try and make sure that my cupcakes are all the same size. Is that weird? I don't know. Fill my cupcake papers. I find that this fills them pretty well. Yeah, see? That's pretty good. And I fill them all evenly. One thing about having cupcakes all the same size, it sure would make sure that your kids wouldn't argue, wouldn't it? I remember my aunt and uncle have 9 children. Okay? 9. 7 girls, 2 boys. And my parents and I went to babysit one time. Yeah, that's real family loyalty, isn't it? I was a teenager, and so I went with my parents. My aunt and uncle lived in Harrisburg, and we lived in Philadelphia, and we went out to babysit these 9 children. And I remember having to get measuring cups to divvy up the macaroni and cheese and the juice because the kids would argue over who had more. Who had more in their cup, who had more in their bowl. But my aunt and uncle said if you just measure out how much you're giving everybody, then nobody can argue. So this way, if all the cupcakes are the same size, then nobody can argue over who has the bigger cupcake. So there you go, moms. That's a little tip. Okay, so you're probably saying, Colleen, what about the cherries? Don't tell me you just opened up a whole jar of cherries, just used the cherry juice. Nope. Now we're going to use the cherries. We're going to make a little surprise inside each cupcake. So you're going to push your cherry down in the middle of the cupcake. And the cupcake should come up and rise above the cherry and surround the cherry. So that when everybody bites into their cupcake, they get a little surprise. And luckily, cupcakes only take 15 to 20 minutes to bake in the oven. So, instant gratification, right? We like that. Especially if you're baking with little ones. They like that a lot. Okay, so our cupcakes have come out of the oven. Now they did puff up pretty good and they are touching each other. So I just take a knife and I separate them while they're still hot so that when they come out, they aren't sticking together. And they're going to sink down in the middle a little bit because of the cherry. We're going to use 1½ cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, and we're going to use a cup of that. Cup of the whipped cream cheese. So get that in there. And I'm going to add some maraschino cherry juice to my topping as well, because I love cherries and I love the flavor. Now check this out. I love cherries. I love the taste of cherries. My daughter can't stand the taste of cherries. We had a 10th anniversary party and my daughter was getting offered all these mocktails with cherry juice in them and tons of cherries by the bartenders, and she didn't want any of them. She was very upset. We had to tell the bartenders finally she doesn't like cherries. They were a little shocked, but they finally got it that this 7-year-old just didn't want any cherries. So, but me, I love it. So I'm going to put in why not go for 2? 2 tablespoons of maraschino cherry juice. And this time around, we're going to use our maraschino cherries with stems on to put on top of our cupcakes. Our icing came out beautifully. It's a slight shade of pink because of the maraschino cherry juice that I put in, but it's really nice, really creamy, thanks to our Philadelphia whipped cream cheese. It adds such a nice texture to it and just a nice little flavor as well. Now I like to use a pastry bag, but you could use a plastic bag snipped at the corner. But I find that the investment in the pastry bag pays off because I use it so much. If you take a look at the cupcake, you'll see it really sank down, exposing our cherry. That's because we poked it down into the cupcake. But we're going to fill that all up and ice our cupcake. And I would even go around the sides just to make sure that it's nice and iced. And then, what else would you do for a Cherries Jubilee cupcake but put a cherry on top? Our cupcakes are done, and I have them on my cupcake stand. So I think it looks pretty great, right? It looks like something fit for a princess, and I think it'll be great for our royal wedding celebration at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's all because of our Philadelphia whipped cream cheese. It's in our icing, it's in our cupcakes, and it's making everything moist and delicious. Do you think they're going to last till Friday? I don't think so. But we'll try to be good. I think I might have to put a lock on the refrigerator. Yeah, I think so. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.